So today, I want to talk to you about the importance of student agency in achieving the prime mission and in achieving the SDGs, right? So before I even begin, I think, a lot of times we do not really think about what a student agency means and what your role is, right? So to me, right, the term student agency relates to you as students having an active role in learning. And this happens through your voice, through your choice. And when you as students have agency, what you're doing is you're making, you're creating, you're doing, you're sharing, you're collaborating, and you're publishing in ways that are meaningful to you. So this is what a student agency is. And how is this relevant to Prime, for example? So what is the mission of Prime? So I'm sure you would know that Prime's vision is to create a global movement and drive thought leadership, responsible management education. And basically what Prime wants to do is transform your management education and develop responsible decision makers of tomorrow to advance sustainable development and the SDGs, which is you. And, I don't think I need to tell you about the SDGs because, the SDGs are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for you. So we are halfway through. And at the end of the day, right, what we want to look at is how you are going to take us all the way to 2030. So why are you as students important in achieving the prime mission and the SDGs? I want to look at three important ways. So the first one is how you as students can channel active engagement in sustainability initiatives, because you as students, you get to ensure a more meaningful connection to the mission. And because of this, when students feel a sense of ownership and aligning business education with sustainability, you are more likely to drive initiatives that contribute directly to the prime mission and to the achievements of specific SDGs. So for example, right, because of you or your leadership, you may choose to actively engage in transforming your own campus into a more sustainable environment. So you could have green campus initiatives, you could lead an initiative such as waste reduction, energy efficiency. So there's so many programs that you could lead. Or for example, you could look at a social entrepreneurship venture. So you might want to initiate social entrepreneurship projects. And this would involve creating businesses that address specific social and environmental challenges, combining profit with purpose. So for example, you could lead an initiative which focuses on clean water access or empowering vulnerable communities, right? So this is something you could lead. And something that I am very closely connected to is advocacy. So as students, how do you exercise your agency? You may choose to champion diversity and inclusion initiatives in your own educational institutions. And this could involve organizing events, workshops, campaigns to promote inclusivity, maybe around SDG 5, gender equality, or even SDG 10, which is reducing inequalities. So you as students, you have the power to contribute to creating a more sustainable learning environment. The second thing I want to talk about is basically how can you promote ethical leadership as you walk into the workplace? And how do you do that in your own educational institution itself? Because you are students and you are the student agency, you have the opportunity to encourage development of ethical leadership through, for example, having a say in advocating about the inclusion of ethical case studies in your curriculum, right? So by actively participating in the decision-making process regarding your course content, you contribute to creating an educational environment that emphasizes the practical application of ethical principles. So this aligns perfectly with Prime's mission And what is that? To integrate sustainability into business education. You could even choose to organize forums or conferences that focus on ethical business practices. And by taking these initiatives, you create platforms for you to be actively in promoting ethical leadership within your own academic community. Another very important thing that I feel that students can contribute to as a student agency is to enhance global awareness and collaboration. So as students, you will eventually be able to promote global awareness by encouraging students to explore and address issues that have international significance. Because once you're done locally promoting ethical leadership and being where you want to, now you have to look at your international obligations, because through collaborative efforts, you learn the importance of global cooperation to achieve the SDGs, right? Again, this aligns with the global perspective of PRIME and emphasizes the interconnectedness of sustainable development on a global scale. So how can you do this? So for example, you could initiate and participate in collaborative research projects with counterparts from different countries. You could be involved in investigation of global issues such as climate change, poverty, inequality. And so you firsthand get to understand the interconnectedness of the nature of global challenges. You could even choose to organize and participate in global sustainability conferences and student exchanges, because this provides you with the opportunity and students from diverse backgrounds to share their perspective, discuss global challenges, collaborate for potential solutions, right? And another important thing that I think that you could look at is to establish partnerships with international organizations working on sustainable development initiatives. So this could involve collaborating on projects related to specific SDGs, participate in joint initiatives, or even organizing joint events. So like what we're doing here today, this online platform for global dialogue, right? So what you have done here is you could facilitate global dialogue on sustainability issues and the SDGs. This platform provides space for all of you from different parts of the world to share insights, discuss challenges, and collaborate on solutions. So you actively participate in these virtual communities, and you broaden your global perspectives, and you then recognize the shared responsibility for addressing global challenges. So these are just examples of how you as students, right, can channel into active engagement with social sustainability initiatives, how you can actively promote ethical leadership in your educational settings, and how you can lead meaningful initiatives that transcend borders, right? So this not only aligns with PRIME principles and SDGs, but it provides you, students, with valuable hands-on experience. And this fosters a deep sense of responsibility and ownership and connection to sustainable development. So to end it off, I basically feel that you students, you are the cornerstone to achieving the PRIME mission and the SDGs. It is through you that PRIME will realize its mission, because you are the future, right? And you as students are the main contributors to the cultivation of a new generation of leaders who will prioritize ethical practices and sustainability in your professional capacity. So this is about an initiative or a perspective that is from you, by you, and for you. So that's all I have to say, Paulo. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Priya, for sharing such inspiring words, and
most welcome.
For calling the students to do more, to do great, and to be the
they're already so great.
Yeah, to be the cornerstone of the change we want to see in the world. Allow me to share my screen for a second, and I will go over a little bit on what is the PRIME infrastructure, right, for enabling the the students on the ground to empower them while taking action. So let me start the slideshow to have some slides to guide my speech. Can you see my screen? It's loading, right? Can you see now? Thank you.
Yes, we can. Okay.
So following what Priya has just shared with us, Antonio Guterres, my boss at Prime, he endorsed Prime's mission. He definitely see the great value of nurturing the responsible leaders of future, and how both leadership and innovative thinking, as Priya was saying, are needed to achieve the sustainable development goals. So Prime Global Student is what Prime could offer for those students that are taking action now. Students are expanding the barriers of the learning journey from the classroom by taking action in their campus, in their surrounding communities, in their cities, in their countries, in the world. And they do so by organizing themselves through student organizations, right? And these students organizations are impactful players in their ecosystems, engaging with companies, with think tanks, with governments, with media, international organizations, and so on. They are taking action to advance gender equality, to deal with the water management, the waste management of their campus, to alleviate poverty on the privileged communities. So Prime Global Student, as a network by and for students, our goal is to connect, to create spaces for connections between these students' organizations and other players on the responsible management education ecosystem. We organize our efforts through 3 pillars. The first one is awareness. So today we are doing a great exercise of awareness on the topics of responsible management and sustainable development, but we also will learn about many of the students' initiatives taking place around the world to promote awareness about them. Advocacy, we are also tackling advocacy here by giving space to a lot of young speakers and students. Not only we want this combination, this mix between different players, but we are ensuring that the student voice has been heard. And finally, collective action, which is our third pillar, to how can we connect students to be a driving, a leverage point between business academia in solving real life problems, and also directing them for the most needed green jobs. So that's are the 3 pillars on how PGS organize their efforts to achieve its missions. By doing so, we are a network by and for students. For students, I think it's already clear, but by students, it's important to define a little bit about our infrastructure. So our infrastructure starts by the PGS regional leaders. Today we have Harsh here from the regional leader in Central and South Asia. They are responsible to connect, to identify students' organizations in their regions and connect them to our global movement by being a two-way road where our offers of initiatives, project programs, they can reach students' organizations on the ground, but we also can capture and understand the activities of the student organizations to promote them globally. They also represent Prime Global Students, as Harsh is doing today on that stage, and many other of the regional leaders will be moderating our sections today. And they always rethink the system. They rethink the Prime Global Students. They are able to apply their expertise, their knowledge to rethink our governance, our infrastructures, our operations, our communications, and so on. So they were able to map more than 300 student organizations and connect many of them. And today we have 40 of them, around 4 of them actively engaged, working with our projects, engaging with our projects, and so on. Here are the regional leaders. You're gonna meet the majority of them today, either through in the audience or in the panels. So we have in North America, Latin America, East and Southeast Asia, in Europe, we have in Oceania, Middle East, Eurasia, and Africa. So to advance the second component of our infrastructure is our portfolio of projects. So to advance the three pillars, we have now 5 operating projects. We have our social media, our newsletter, as channels of communications. We have the PGS Talks, which is our department of events responsible for organizing this summit. We have the PGS Career, who is currently developing a mentorship program engaging prime professors and prime students on a mentorship journey, starting with a self-assessment. They have a skill set playlist and so on. And we have the PGS Ambassador program, which is a 10-week training program going chapter to chapter, organized by students, engaging professors from the prime working groups with the support of the chapters. We are currently implementing on the prime chapter Middle East this semester, and the final graduation ceremony will take place on COP28. These are tools to serve the students' organizations on the ground. When you see them interacting and taking action and leverage and having impact in their ecosystem by engaging with different sectors. These projects are led by students for students. So we have 40 students in the 5 projects, 8 prime projects. These students come from 30 prime signatory members in 19 countries. And each project is also led by 2 co-coordinators. The PGS Talks has been led by Jasmine, who is here with us in a temporary capacity until we finalize the summit. But these are also our coordinators coming from different schools around the world. Last but not least, how do students engage with PGS, right? So in one side, we have the users. So the users are the individuals and the student organizations that are exploring our projects and the support of regional leaders to empower their student agency. And the builders, as I show you, are the regional leaders, the task force member, task force coordinators. So those who apply to put their hands on the job to develop and implement PGS and serve students around the world. I spoiler for you here in the audience, the next application cycle will open by late October. So keep an eye on our social media and our website to make sure you meet the deadlines and apply to join our team. So now I will move back to Harsh. So Harsh can bring us the face of students and how they are taking action and driving change in their campus. Harsh, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paulo. Am I audible? Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paulo and Ms. Priya, for this opening speech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to respected speakers, dignitaries, and audience members joining from different parts of the world. Be the change you wish to see in the world. This quote is often attributed to India's father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. But this is exactly what student agency is all about. Student agency can be defined as the capacity to set a goal, reflect on it, and act responsibly to effect change. It is about acting rather than being acted upon, shaping rather than being shaped, and making responsible decisions and choices rather than accepting those determined by others. To me, student agency has 5 essentials: dedication, integrity, ownership, competency, and consistent efforts. It is a combination of these 5 factors that lets a student stay on track and pursue the goals they have set out to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, my student community goes through mixed feelings every day. This feeling of being part of the system, yet not fully entrenched in it. This feeling of being helpless, yet that urge to make an impact. This feeling of being resourceless, Yet that motivation that if I execute the right set of actions, I will attract the desired resources. I see two important observations in my short time of being a part of this community. Earlier, student agency advocated few number of revolutionary changes that required high amount of resources to effect that change. But now there is a gradual realization that even small incremental changes by a large cohort of stakeholders can bring about big change. I call this shift of mindset from being champions to being pragmatic champions. Second is, when you tune in to any forum today involving the youth, the discussions have more of a future and long termism point of view. This is great to see as current generations are not only seeking resources for themselves but also for the next generation. This becomes especially important as any idea or solution that we implement today has to continue to stay relevant and sustainable for future generations. When I had the opportunity to interact with my fellow regional leaders and various student organizations in the Central and South Asian region, this is what a responsible, socially sensitive, and self motivated student leader has to say. I want to be assertive, but not arrogant. I want to be incisive, but not intimidating. I want to be risk taking, but not reckless. I want to be critical, but not condescending. I want to influence, but not incite. Let me tell you where I come from. In my first year of studies here in Mumbai, India, I received the opportunity to engage with organizations working with specially abled children, to work with farmer producer organizations that form an important backbone of India's agricultural ecosystem. I also had the opportunity to do social internships here in India and Bangladesh, learning about social businesses and microfinance institutes and their impact at the grassroots level. There are a number of projects in India that have been started primarily addressing the 17 UN SDGs. Drawing on what Ms. Priya mentioned, charity begins at home, and what it was rightly said. And in India, the central government has started a particular initiative called as U75, which stands for University 75, where they have selected 75 higher educational institutes in India to make their campus carbon neutral. And I'm lucky to say that the institute that I belong to, which is SPJ Institute of Management and Research, is one of the 75 universities, and I am a part of the team leading that change. I have committed myself to student agency and youth leadership and have become part of this vibrant community. Do you know what inspires me? The opportunity to meet like minded people from around the world. And when I say like minded, it is not people who think alike, it is rather people who may have different opinions and ways of working, but their end goal is the same. The opportunity to disagree without fear, the opportunity to be heard at a global stage like the one I am on today. And finally, I am also human. A bit of recognition also does motivate me. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to say that we may not be overflowing with monetary resources, but we are indeed affluent in the experiences we share, the positive impact we make, and the lives we transform. Here's to the power of partnership, the strength of purpose, and the impact of positive deeds. Thank you. Over to Paulo.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Great words, inspiring words. I appreciate you coming and sharing your perspective. And now I will hand over to Jasmine so she can do a recap what's going on. But before, I want to say thanks to Priya. Priya is in between classes as a professor. She walked the talk about supporting student agents by being here with us. Thank you so much, Priya. You are always welcome for the Prime Global Students.
My pleasure, Paulo. And I wish you all a really wonderful summit. After my class, I will come back in to see what's going on. So have a good one.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Priya.
Most welcome, Jasmine.
Jasmine,
Okay.
it's now with you.
Sure.
You need me to share the screen. 1 second. And
Thanks, Paulo.
here we go.
Okay, so I will give some overview and to let you know what to expect during this summit. My name is Jasmine Zhang. I am the PGS Talks coordinator and also the leading organizer for today's summit. So thank you all so much for joining the second PGS annual summit right now. Today, we have more than 580 registrants from over 60 countries and regions. We have attendees who are students, young leaders, faculties, private and public sector leaders, and entrepreneurs around the globe. Last year, PGS Summit was an idea, and this year, we are really glad to see that we are a growing, vibrant global gathering. We extend a heartfelt invitation for all of you to join us for even greater growth and impact in the future. So just as Paulo said, today is a summit by youth for youth, and this is a summit that carries the weight of futures on its shoulders. We will discuss 5 paramount thematic pillars, including climate change, gender equality, inclusive economy, digital transition, and pedagogical innovations. These themes are also the beating heart of the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, chosen by our passionate student community. To make this summit a reality, I also want to thank our PGS members, whether they serve on the speaker engagement team, manage our social media platform, or design the newsletter. Each one of them, they may not put their face here, but they work really hard to bring speakers and you to us, connecting us all in a very powerful network today. Like Niles, he is doing the tech support right now backstage, and thank you so much for all your effort with us. So to make this summit more inclusive, we bring together 35 speakers from 22 countries, including Australia, Brazil, Bulgaria, China, Thailand, and Zambia, just to name a few. We also divided the summit into 2 blocks. Currently, you're attending the Eastern block, running from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. New York times. We encourage you, if your schedule permits, also to join our Western block, scheduled for later today, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. New York times. This way, we try to accommodate as many of your time zones as possible. Together, we will discuss pressing challenges and building solutions for the betterment of tomorrow. During the summit, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to shoot us an email at pgs_talks@unprime.org, and one of our team members will respond to you very shortly. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope all of you to enjoy the summit. Before you leave, I really want to give you a brief summary and introduction of our panelists for our next TED Talk. So Paulo Speroni is a manager of strategy, governance, and innovation at Prime. This is an initiative of the United Nations Global Compact. In this position, Paulo leads the Prime Board Relations, the Prime Working Groups Program, the Prime Global Students Network, and initiatives for programmatic innovations such as the Prime Principle Refresh and the Prime Climate Guidelines. He has multiple working experiences and takes several leadership roles in public agencies and NGOs in Brazil, in India, and Tunisia. I believe that Paulo has a lot of stories and interesting experiences to share with you. So stay with us.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thank you so much for doing an overview of our summit. Outstanding work from you, from the PGS Talks team, and for all the other collaborators on the PGS network. We stay on that room, right? We don't need it to move to other place. Is that correct? Great. Thank you so much. So now I will start with the first PGS Talks, our keynote style sessions, and I will talk about halfway there. So the youth leadership and then 2030 agenda. So before we start going on the topic, on the specific topic, I want to discuss 2 crucial concepts for what's going next. The first one is the concept of sustainability. It's a broad concept. There's a lot of definition. It varies from culture, country to country, the way that people sees. I like this one, which is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Why I like this, besides being simple and straightforward, because it brings the intergenerational approach. Second, the concept of global citizenship, which is a very, very central concept for the United Nations. Global citizenship means that we are global-minded individuals and communities. So respecting the diversity, the local and no-local networks, we understand that we are part of a same planet and a same society. And promoting global citizenship is crucial for sustainable development, right? And education is crucial for promoting global citizenship. So although we have a specific SDG for education, SDG 4, we see how it's transversal to all the sustainable development goals. And more than this, the universities host an important and essential responsibility to promote global citizenship. So these two concepts are embedded on the Agenda 2030. When we are talking about sustainable development and we are talking about global citizenship and how citizenship comes with rights, but also responsibility. So if we see the call for action to change our world, we see the different sectors and the protagonism of people. You all know that the major framework to assess and advance our sustainable development in the 2030 agenda are the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17th. I wish I could bring better news, but the truth is that we are halfway on the time. So this year marked the half point of the 2030 agenda, but we are still out of track. So 85% of the 169 SDG divided in the 17 thematic areas are showing either limited or no progress, or even a reversal in progress, as per the 2023 Sustainable Development Report from the United Nations. Here you can see an overview. This comes also from the report, where we show that some of them are even in a reversal progress, and some of them are in a slow progress. Education, when we talk about education, we see some progress, but it's still not on the pace needed. And when we are talking about education, we are talking about how we are providing skills, relevant skills to young people, to adults, how these skills are needed, much needed. Upskilling our society is much needed to promote sustainable education. Which brings me to my reflections, what is a terror of change, a two-road terror of change. Because at the same time, as sustainability and global citizenship shape a new way of education, push education to transform itself, to advance these concepts. And education is shaping a new profile of students. The reverse flow is also accurate. We have students with a new profile. We have students who are demanding and pursuing change. In the prime global students community, we have plenty of examples of how they are transforming the learning ecosystem. They are transforming their learning journey. They are expanding the barriers of learning behind the classroom. Education nowadays is much less a top-down transfer of knowledge and much more an exchange of knowledge. By doing so, by changing the way of how they themselves behave in their learning journey, they are changing and transforming education. And by doing so, they are contributing to the sustainability in the SDGs. Not only students, but young people in general are protagonists of the sustainable development and the Agenda 2030 in many ways. The United Nations is a system. I could have 1,000 of slides of different initiatives here. But since we are speaking from the house in the United Nations, I would highlight 2 of them. First, the Youth 2030 Agenda, which is a specific strategy within the Agenda 2030 launched in 2018 by and for students, with and for students. It aims to reshape the entire United Nations to ensure that the young people are not only the beneficiaries, but the constructors of all the policies and service and goods delivered by the United Nations. So the report from last year shows that the indicators on knowledge exchange, on advocacy on youth in global and regional forums, and the diversity of youth engagement are the top performance areas. So young people are being driven in a movement to occupy different UN spaces. And that is true. I speak from inside the system and I can see the changing taking place. If you go from General Assembly to General Assembly, you're gonna see much more young people, not only as attendees, but on the table. If we see the Prime journey, we see that today we have a dedicated summit for students, but we also have students representatives in various different governance bodies. We have representatives on the Prime board, we have representatives on the I5 project, we have representatives in different judging committees for awards all over the place. Students and young people are taking the seats and having their voice heard. Following these trends of youth protagonists, last year during the General Assembly in September 2022, we have a milestone for the topics on education and student agents, which was the Youth Declaration on Transforming Education. The Youth Declaration on Transforming Education was built with thousands and thousands of hands by listening, consulting, and joint efforts of thousands of student-focused, youth-led organizations, include Prime Global Students. And their 25 vote statements are clear. Students want not only their voice, but their input in the decision-making on transforming education. So they want to not only imagine the education they want, but they want to decide and take action to pursue that dream. And we can finally see that this is not only a global movement, this is not only about talk, this is also about walk. So students are taking action today. The leaders of tomorrow are leaders today. So here we have just a few examples of students, organizations from the Prime Global Students community. We have SDG Legend in Kazakhstan, SIGA Icons in India, Net Impact in the USA, like Student Impact in Denmark, who are providing service to companies, consulting service, so they can advance their sustainability practice. We have United in Japan. We have different all over the world. We have students solving real life problems, organize various types of activities in various types of topics. So they are doing that locally. And as I said before, our goal is not to come there and teach them how to do. Our goal is that how can we provide an infrastructure to empower them to leverage their impact. So by piece on this puzzle, they are contributing to the sustainability and to the sustainable development goals while transforming the education system. And we don't have only local student organizations. On that puzzle, on that ecosystem, we had outstanding organizations dedicated for student agents. We have Oikos International, We have Enactus with their entrepreneurship model. We have Regeneration in Canada, who has changed the landscape of business education in the country through our entire student-led movement. So you see, Prime Global Student, if we zoom in to zoom out, it's a community of sustainability-oriented student organizations and individuals. They are part of an ecosystem that is not only PGS, but also have many other organizations. And all this shared mission, these organizations that are sharing this mission, they are contributing to sustainability. So I want to conclude with an optimist vision, which is much needed on this halfway point. I know that there is not a positive scenario when we see data, but we have a positive trend, intergenerational trend. We have young people and students much more aware, much more conscious about the sustainable development and taking action today. So I heard one day that a friend of my father said that we did not left a better world to our child, but we left better child to our world. So in that case, I can see that this movement of the theory of change, of the new profile of student and young people taking action, driving change, changing education, changing their organizations, changing their companies, it's a positive perspective and a hopeful perspective for us in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, global citizenship, and sustainability. Thank you so much. I will stop now to move to the next one. So, which is Power Up Girls, how underprivileged women can become the power behind transforming education. So do we have the speakers on the room? Jasmine, are you with us? Let's wait in a second. If anyone has any comment, question on the chat, please feel free to add to the chat. I'm happy to go over any comments and questions while we wait for the speakers for the next session. And if you don't mind sharing on the chat where you come from, I see some familiar names here. I see Daria from Oikos here. I've just mentioned Oikos. I see Kelvin, our coordinator of the PGS careers. I see Miroslav Mativ from the Prime chapter, Middle East. So great to see you all. For those who did not know about Prime Global Student, let me share also not only our website, but also some of the links for the reports that I use it as a reference in my presentation. Here they go. So you can take a look on the 2022 Sustainable Development Report. You can also take a look on the Youth 2030 a Global Progress Report. You can also not only write on the chat, but also raise your hands. I think you have that feature able with you if you want to comment, to join the conversation and so on. Last but not least, please follow up our Facebook, our LinkedIn, our Instagram, and sign up for our newsletter, for the Prime Global Student newsletter, so you can keep an eye on what's going. And for those who are students in the room, you can also apply for our positions, to join our projects, to become a regional leader, and so on. I've just received a message that speakers are coming. And I apologize for the delay for moving from one session to another. But this is a new Zoom events model we are using now at Prime. So it's also a task for us on how to navigate, but they are on the backstage and joining us in a few minutes or seconds, I hope. Okay. Okay, I was just informed that you needed to come back to the lobby and join the next session. You might see on the options to come back to the lobby. Jasmine is coming to instruct us, but it's kind of a conference mode, so there is different rooms. So you will come back to the lobby on Zoom, you will be able to join the next one. And I apologize for the confusion. As I said, we are learning. And the speakers are in the other room. So if anyone finds any problem to doing so, please write on the chat. But you might see on the toolbar the option to come back to lobby. And then on the lobby, you're gonna see the session Power Up Girls that is starting now. Hi, Jasmine. I was explaining
Hey.
then that
Yeah.
they needed to go on the toolbar, right?
Yeah, they
And,
will use the same Zoom link to access all panels. But when this one finishes, you will need to go back to the lobby and then go to the next one.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
If anyone has facing any problem, please, you can either write on chat or raise your hand here so we can help you navigate through it. I see that there are a lot of people moving out, so it's great. Apologize again for the confusion. I see people moving.